Welcome, everyone. I'm Thongthot Aung, Director of AIT Solutions, Asian Institute of Technology. I'm host for today's talk. Let me briefly introduce about AIT Solutions and this talk. AIT Solutions is a consulting unit in the Institute. We connect the Institute with the industry and provide the solutions and help the industry by sharing and applying the knowledge, research, and expertise of AIT. Structural engineering is one of our key expertise and services, and we are providing the services in performance-based seismic evaluation, structural design review, and wind tunnel testing. We have carried out performance-based design for more than 120 tall buildings in this region. Not only structural engineering service, our software and IT software development team develop customized software applications for structural analysis, design, detailing, and other fields, other applications to meet the needs of our clients. We initiated Meet the Expert Talk series by inviting experts in the structural engineering and allied fields to share their knowledge and experience through online session. This talk, The Eye of the Needle, Ciel Dubai by Mr. Yahya, is the first talk of the series. If you have any questions, please send the message in the chat box. Before we start the talk, let me welcome Dr. Naveed Anwar, Vice President for Knowledge Transfer of AIT, to introduce our speaker of today. Dr. Naveed, please.
Yes, thank you, Ong. And let me welcome everyone, including Mr. Yahya, and also our colleagues from NOR, especially Engineer Thakbui, and also Engineer Danilo. Actually, I met with Engineer Thakbui and Engineer Danilo a few years ago in a conference in Dubai organized by CTBUH. And at that time, we had just started our course, the Professional Master Course in Tall Buildings, and I discussed with them. And they showed a lot of enthusiasm to join this program, and they have still since been joining this program with us. So since we know them, we have learned a lot from the profession, and we also get to know Mr. Yahya through Mr. Engineer Turkbui. And actually, we were hoping to invite him to Bangkok. We had only planned, and his visit was almost final, and we were very eager and anticipating his visit to AIT and do a physical event and a talk. But unfortunately, then we have the COVID situation in March, and then the talk had to be postponed at that time. But I think this is a great opportunity that we, in a way that we can actually do this online, and a lot more people can join who would have otherwise been difficult to travel to AIT and to join this talk. And we are really fortunate that Mr. Yahya, who is the president and also the design director of a very famous design company, and who have designed a lot of buildings, and I'm sure he will talk about that. We are very fortunate that we have him as our first speaker in this talk, because even though, like I mentioned, that AIT Solutions and AIT focuses a lot on structural design, and I also teach courses on tall buildings and structural design, but we always emphasize the integration and communication and the interactions with other professionals involved in the process of the whole, especially the tall buildings. And we know that the lead is always the architect. And that's why it's very important for structural engineers to understand the perspective from the designers, from their vision, what they want to see from the building, and how we can support that. And from that perspective, I think this is a very good start for this talk series, that we start with the actual start of the tall building design process, which is the architects. And then we hope to invite other experts in other areas as well. But I thought this is very befitting that we have a very renowned architect as well as a very interesting project to start this discussion. So I'm really honored and very glad to be introduced to Mr. Yahya, and also to have him as a speaker. And I'm quite sure that everyone attending this talk will benefit. And we also have one of my other very close friend, Boise, Engineer Jose C. from Philippines, who heads the largest structural engineering company, and he will soon join us for the forum. And so we have experts both on engineering and architecture today to have this discussion on how the collaboration between the two very important fields can help to create, really landmark projects. So thank you once again, Mr. Yajan, and also Engineer Takwe and Engineer Danilo for making this possible. So let's start the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Naveed. Let me welcome Mr. Yajan to present the Eye of the Needle, Ciel, Dubai.
Yahya, you're on mute.
Is that better, Chris? How is that sounding? Or not yet?
We hear you.
Chris.
We hear you now.
Yeah, we can hear you very clearly, Mr. Yajan. Thank you.
Okay, great. So, Dr. Anwar, thank you very much for your kind words. And we look forward to building on our relationship with you and your group as we explore really the integration of engineering and architecture, science and art. And that really is the thesis of today's presentation. It is not a presentation just about architecture. It's also not a presentation just about engineering. Rather, it is a beginning of a discussion on how science and art can come together, especially in the design of super tall buildings, such as Ciel. And I look forward to the discussion after the presentation. I promise I will try and keep it to no more than 40 minutes. I will try. And Chris, you will tell me if I'm going over as usual. Yeah?
Of course.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Okay, so I will try and share the screen and launch into the presentation. And I hope I don't press the wrong button. So share screen, share contents. I guess I'm going to share screen. Share screen. Zoom, start broadcast. Okay. I'm wondering if you can see the first slide, which is called Ciel Tower at the very top.
Yes.
Dubai. Okay, so that's good news. Technology is working. And on the first slide, you will see the name of the tower, Dubai, which is of course where we are. And then two very important things about it, which is the logo of our client, the first group. I want to also say that every great project requires a great client with a great vision. And we at NOR are very fortunate that the first group, a client who we have worked with on many projects over the years, has had the vision and has given us the latitude and the respect to develop a scheme that is truly going to be a signature project for them and for our industry, for both. So I'll start by saying that, and then launch into a very quick presentation of our group. We are a Canadian architecture and engineering firm. Interesting, we have as many engineers as architects and interior designers. We have three main centers, and from these centers, Toronto, London, and Dubai, we get a chance to work on projects across many cities. We have offices in 19 cities, and we have projects in over 50 cities currently. Our staff count is approximately 800 engineers and architects overall. And you can see that the center of gravity very much is in Canada and the US, but our UK and Middle East groups are also pretty healthy, and we tend to work very much as design groups. Each group has its own design center. We understand the specifics of our region, the culture, economy, what kind of projects work in this part of the world. And I've been very fortunate in my own life to work with Noor for 24 years now, all in Dubai. And it's been a tremendous opportunity to build a design culture in Dubai for our group, and then to really see what boundaries of design we can explore for our clients in the region. Over the 30 years that our group has been here, we worked on a wide range of projects. And what ties our work together is our core belief. Our core belief is really that many minds are better than one. This kind of collaborative approach to design, where the owner, operators, engineers and architects, interior designers, specialists, we all come together to create, to explore options and then to hopefully create something unique. We also believe in an integrated design process, one where science and art, economy, social concerns, environmental concerns, they all have to be dealt with simultaneously. It's not really a question of doing one thing first and doing the second thing later. You actually have to do everything at the same time. And so research and conceptual work, for it to be rich and exciting, and for it to really push boundaries, you have to be honest in your search. And that requires a lot of patience, and it also requires a lot of repetitive effort. And finally, we believe in technology. Technology is changing our lives in tremendous and dramatic ways, and the future is really something many of us are wondering: where will technology take us in the near future? So the power of collaboration, an integrated design process, and embracing technology really is the thesis of how we work. And I think that's why it's really exciting that we got a chance to join you to this this afternoon in Bangkok, but different times of the day across the world, to show how some of these beliefs have shaped this particular project. And then the kind of work we do, I'm just scrolling through it very quickly to give you a sense. Certainly we are known for high-rise buildings. We are known for that, but we also design horizontal buildings. And we believe that design doesn't care actually whether the building is horizontal or vertical. The thinking behind the design, this idea of integration, collaboration, and technology, that is really key. And these are a few quick snapshots of our studio in Dubai. And this process is almost like, the vision really is that our studio is really like a university. It's an opportunity for us to pin stuff up and to move things around through vigorous debate. So about a year and a half ago, and it seems like a long time ago, a year and a half ago, I received a call from the first group, our client. They said there is a potential project for us to look at. They didn't say we had it. They said, why don't you look at it and tell us what you can do? And of course, I showed up, and there's your skyline. And very soon we discovered that they were looking to acquire a property in partnership with another partner. And that property would be developed. At that time, the thinking was that property would be developed into a 50 to 60 story tower, which would be sitting right in front of the Infinity Tower, which is already there. And through the design process, the building grew. It grew to 82 stories, and roughly from about 270 meters, it's now 365 meters in height. And it's going to be, we believe, a really exciting addition to the Dubai skyline. The top of the tower has an observation deck. And when we started to look at this project in the context of the city of Dubai, it occurred to us that where Dubai is known as a city of landmarks, we had the opportunity to propose a new signature tower that would then triangulate and connect visually to some of the other iconic buildings, either built or under construction. What was also exciting about this project, and is exciting, is its location. It's a waterfront project with really amazing views out to the ocean, views back to the Dubai Marina, which is a very recent development. If I were to take this photograph 20 years ago, there were no towers at all. All of these have been built in the last 20 years. And then looking back to the desert, which you see in the distance, and then looking back to downtown Dubai, which you would then have on a clear day, you would see the other signature towers, which is the Burj Khalifa on the left and the Creek Harbor, the new tower that's under construction in the Creek Harbor on the right. And so that was the discussion we had with our client. We said, look, we don't believe this is a business as usual. We think this project is unique. It's a unique opportunity to do something that goes out of the box. The challenges were also fantastic. So the opportunities are fantastic and the challenges are significant. The property is not a very regularly shaped property. It's a residual space that was generated when the highway was diverted. And so really the question was for us, what can we do with it? A less than ideal property. And through a very significant process, we found a way, with the tremendous support of our client, we found a way to solve the problem, hopefully with elegance and restraint. So when we were looking at this triangular property, it occurred to us obviously that there would be a parking structure that would sit there. And in fact, an earlier consultant had already designed a residential tower of about 65 stories for this property. And that project looked basically like that. That project had a 8-story podium and a rectangular residential tower. And the piling had already been done. This was done in 2007, 2008. And so 11 years later, the piles are still in the ground, but the project was stopped during the previous economic crisis. And so the question for us was, how can we use the earlier design, especially from a structural point of view? How can we use it, but then retrofit it to become a hotel? And in the early moments of the discussion, it occurred to us that we should look at this project from an open mind. Yes, we will have to deal with the existing piles, but we really should question how we shape the tower. And the process was a very interesting one as we evolved our thinking and looked for a solution that would actually deal obviously with the existing piles with some additional micropiling, and then a shaped building that responds to the very strong sea breeze that comes into this site, but also the idea of lifting the entire base of the project, lifting it up to create an urban space and a drop-off arrival space on the property. And this was a very ambitious goal. And to be honest, during the process, there were moments where we felt that we're trying to do too much. The property has a lot of restrictions, and will we really succeed? And partly through luck and partly through just dedication and hard work, we have been able to solve it. The other great consideration was the idea of integrating landscape and nature into the scheme. And very early on, with our client, we proposed that this tower would not just be an ordinary tower, and yes, it's super tall, and yes, it's going to be the tallest hotel in the world, but what else? And our proposal really is that it's a building that creates a vertical urbanism, an urbanism where landscape and shared spaces rise from the initial moment of arrival through the leisure deck and all the way up the tower to the landscape garden at the very top at about 360 meters above street level, through a series of naturally ventilated gardens. And this idea of combining landscape, architecture, engineering, interior design, and then environmental systems, structure and mechanical electrical systems, how do we mold and sculpt all of this to give us what we really want? And we want it not just because it looks elegant, it should work elegantly for the users who use the building. There's 1,042 keys in this project. There's 5 restaurants, 2 swimming pools, leisure decks, tremendous amenities, shared amenities for the hotel users. How does it feel to actually stay in this hotel? How is it different compared to other hotels? And that kind of questioning really, in many ways, requires us to step back and to draw and to think, to look at things really from their very, very basic ideas. And we believe in drawing. We believe as a group, and certainly I've dedicated my life to putting my thoughts on paper, even if they seem crude or not well developed. Drawing is a process by which we share ideas as they come to us. We test them, we keep some and we throw away most of it. But through a continuous process of thinking and sketching, we explore all kinds of issues. Early in the project, we recognized that a super tall building needs to deal with wind and with all the vortices and the dynamic issues that come with a strong wind direction, and how we would shape the tower so that it is a transformative shape. It is not a shape that's consistent, but rather a shape that transforms as it rises up the tower. And almost like an onion, the skin of an onion, the floor plates then really change shape. They taper and adjust vertically through the tower. And at the same time, we looked to open up the shape to introduce these gardens, the gardens that look out, that are embedded within the tower. They are naturally ventilated. And they actually create the shaping of this building. So from the lowest footprint to something in between to a larger footprint, even as the shape of the tower changes, the shape of the atrium gardens are also changing as we go up the tower. And then how the tower embeds itself in the base of the building, which is a parking structure and has lobbies and back of house facilities. Ultimately, it has a leisure deck. How all of this meets the ground to create something, again, that responds to the unique geometry of the site, and at the same time creates shared public space that can be used by the users. And so lifting this podium up, this entire parking structure, lifting it up by about 10 meters to create an urban drop-off zone under this parking structure was in some ways almost as difficult as designing the tower itself. So designing a tower, grabs a lot of attention, but how the podium is designed and the structural and other challenges were tremendous. And then the thinking of these hanging gardens, the gardens that are embedded within the tower, which are naturally ventilated. There are 12 of them stacked vertically, roughly 6 to 8 floors in height, with panoramic elevators that go through the space, where the top of the tower then becomes another unique event. In this case, an observation deck, and actually another swimming pool, second swimming pool, the horizon deck, infinity edge pool, and then a garden at the very top of the tower, which is an observation deck to look out over the city, over the harbor, and over the Arabian Gulf. Again, becomes a fantastic opportunity to do something special. How do we get there? How do we test these ideas, and how do we convert sketches to concrete? And that's a very long and patient process. Within our studio, we have a 3D lab where we have 3D printers. We have tremendously talented people who are dedicated to the craft of building models. And most of the models we build, we throw away. I would say 99% of everything we build, we actually throw away, because each model results in the next model. And it's a process of testing. We are testing our ideas, not just in sketches, but also by modeling those ideas. And these are just some of the models we built for this car. There are many more. As we were testing the shape of the tower, the shape of the base, and then the nature of how these vertically stacked gardens would actually be shaped. The podium, as I said, was actually very, very complex piece of engineering and actually thinking. Started out relatively banal, and then over time, and you can see that we build models at different scales. So this is a model just to test the base of the building. And you can see that the podium is lifted up. The parking structure is lifted up with these V-shaped columns to create a drop-off condition under the podium. I'm going through this very quickly, and I hope that's okay, because there's quite a few slides, and then really we need to get to our discussion. But this idea of embedded complexity, but the challenge is how to make it look effortless, how to make it actually not look that complex. I think I lost the PowerPoint. Sorry about that. Chris, I lost the PowerPoint, right? Are you there?
Yeah, we can see you. You're scrolling through it to get it back.
I'm trying to get it back. Yes, I'm not sure why it did that, but it did. I think I'm back. So now how do I?
Yeah,
okay.
There we see you. That's it. You're back.
Yeah, I'm back. And then of course the tower. So the tower with the gardens facing the ocean, and we've built many models as we tested also the nature of this atrium space. What does it look like? How big is it? How is it used? And I'll show you some of the initial environmental modeling for this space. But really the concept is that these are gardens that that are embedded within the tower and that rise all the way from ground floor to the 82nd floor. This is an earlier study for the podium, and I'm showing you some of these models. This is a recent model we built where we are exploring and to understand better the arrival experience. What does it feel like to arrive in a car in this drop-off zone? And again, our objective is to pare things back, not to add makeup, but rather to expose the structures, to expose the radial shear walls, the concrete core in the middle of the tower, and to wrap that structure with a very transparent glass screen. And again, embedded within it, of course, are these landscaped elements, trees and water. And this will be the experience, and we are still looking at the actual design of the furniture. How will the furniture interact with the structure and the trees and all of that? And I think that's going to be a really, really elegant sense.
Yahya, we've lost your voice.